Ever felt that little knot of worry in your stomach when you think about your YouTube channel?
Oh, yeah.
All that effort you've poured in? Could it just vanish overnight?
It's a real concern for creators.
Maybe you've even imagined, the thrill of seeing that monetization kick in and those earnings really start to climb.
Absolutely. The potential is huge.
Well, you're definitely in the right place today. We're doing a deep dive into a pretty fascinating YouTube video transcript. It's from the Sojil YouTube Trains Sotam channel.
Right.
Think of it as unlocking some of the more strategic and, frankly, kind of intriguing ways to navigate YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. Our exploration today, it's guided by the insights of Tron Sotam.
Mm-hmm.
He's identified as a CMSW content manager, certified by YouTube.
Okay, what does that mean exactly, CMSW?
Well, typically, someone with that certification handles the, let's say, the complex side of managing and optimizing content within YouTube's systems, like for bigger networks.
Gotcha. And he has a website, too.
Yeah, transim.net seems like another resource. But what really jumped out at me from this transcript was the focus on building, well, not just one channel, but maybe like a whole ecosystem,
Yeah.
a more resilient YouTube presence.
Exactly. Moving away from just relying on that single channel, that single point of failure, right?
Precisely.
So our mission in this deep dive, really for you, the listener, is to unpack these strategies from the transcript. How to set up multiple YouTube channels, multiple AdSense accounts, but importantly, doing it all by the book. Staying within YouTube and Google's guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
The aim, well, it's about long-term secure growth. And crucially, having that safety net, protecting your whole YouTube thing if one channel hits a snag.
So the core argument presented is pretty compelling, I think. Depending just on one channel for everything, your growth, your income, it leaves you pretty vulnerable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The transcript really highlights how that limits your earning potential and the huge risk if that one channel runs into problems. Could be devastating.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I thought. The video points out that the bigger players, networks, larger teams, they almost never rely on just one channel.
Right. That's not their model.
Apparently, they often manage hundreds, creating their own sort of internal ecosystems to generate views and support each other.
It's a smart strategy. If one part of their network has an issue, the others can kind of cushion the blow. It spreads the risk.
Totally. Which leads us right into the practical stuff, the how-to from the transcript.
Yeah.
Creating multiple compliant channels and the AdSense accounts that go with them.
Exactly. And the initial prep phase they describe, it's remarkably detailed, really emphasizes creating completely distinct digital identities for each new setup.
Okay, let's break down that initial setup. So for both Android and iOS devices, the first step is like a total digital lockdown.
Right.
GPS off, Wi-Fi off, Bluetooth off, cellular data off. Then enable airplane mode.
All connections severed.
But here's a bit that really stood out to me. The advice to physically move somewhere new. A place you haven't been before connecting online. What's the logic there?
Oh, it's fascinating, isn't it? The clear goal seems to be preventing any digital link between this new account and your past activity by going to a new physical spot.
You get a new Wi-Fi network.
Exactly. You're likely connecting to a different network, maybe a coffee shop's Wi-Fi. It helps establish a totally separate network association. Think of like putting on a completely different digital disguise. No tracks back to your main online identity.
Right, a fresh digital start in a new physical place.
Okay. Then the next step is using completely new info.
Yeah, entirely new credentials,
Yeah.
different personal information, and importantly, a unique phone number for each new channel and its associated AdSense account.
Wow. Okay. That sounds like a kind of a hassle, actually.
Yeah.
Keeping track of all that.
It definitely underlines the level of separation they're aiming for. It's serious. The transcript then details connecting to that new Wi-Fi, like at the coffee shop example. Yeah.
And then turning location services back on. But there's a specific sequence for Android versus iOS after you're connected.
Oh, interesting. So order matters.
It seems so.
Yeah.
And then disabling airplane mode is the final step in that initial phase.
Yeah.
It's very precise order of operations.
And even the web browser you use matters. They don't want you using your regular browser.
No, the recommendation is specific. Download and use third-party web browsers. Get them from the official app stores, Google Play, or the App Store. And use these only for creating the new accounts.
Huh. Why not just use an incognito window?
Well, the thinking, presumably, is that separate apps have their own totally isolated data storage, cookies, cache, everything. It adds another layer of separation, preventing any accidental bleed over from your main browsing that could link the accounts. They even say skip default reset options during setup.
It all reinforces that idea of keeping things totally walled off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then comes the standard Google account creation process: name, birth date, gender. But there's a little tip for the Gmail address.
Oh, yeah.
Using the creator's name and birth date. Apparently this makes it easier to remember which email goes with which setup.
Makes sense. Now, the phone number verification, that sounds like a potential sticking point. They emphasize it needs to be verified by the carrier.
Yes, that's highlighted. The transcript suggests that if the number isn't verified with your mobile carrier, you might actually get blocked from creating the Google account entirely.
Seriously? Okay, so what do you do then?
The suggestions are either use a different number that is verified, or you might have to contact your carrier first to sort out the verification before you even try to create the account.
Wow, so Google's really checking that.
It seems like a key step they monitor closely.
Okay, so assuming you get past that hurdle, the advice is to initially skip adding a recovery email.
Right. Add it later, maybe. First, add and verify the phone number within the new Google account settings via SMS code.
Got it.
Then, enable two-step verification. That's strongly recommended. Building up security layers right from the start.
Yeah, that's always good practice anyway.
Definitely. And then comes this really interesting step, the incubation period.
Incubation.
Yeah, they recommend letting the new email address just sit there, rest, for a full 10 days after creation before you do anything else with it, like link it to YouTube.
10 days. Why?
The strategy, most likely, is to make the new account appear more, well, organic, less like it was mass-produced in a big batch for, potentially spammy purposes. Makes it look more like a genuine individual account created over time.
Huh. Interesting tactic. Okay, so fast forward 10 days. We've got our nice, rested, incubated email address. How do we connect this specific email and its future AdSense account to a channel that's ready for monetization?
Right. The transcript lays out a scenario.
Yeah.
You have a channel that meets the monetization criteria.
Yeah.
But you don't want to link your main AdSense. You want to link this new one precisely to spread that risk we talked about.
Okay, how's it done?
Method 1 involves the YouTube Studio mobile app. Key thing is to insert the new email address as a manager for the channel. You do this through the app's settings, then permissions. And they specifically note, make sure your app is updated to the latest version.
Okay, invite as manager. But what if, that option isn't showing up in the app? Sometimes apps glitch, right?
Exactly. And the transcript anticipates that. It provides a backup. Use the YouTube Studio website instead. Just go to studio.youtube.com on a browser.
Ah, the web version.
Yeah. The process is pretty much the same. Settings, then permissions, then invite the new email address. Again, assigning the manager role. Good fallback if the app acts up.
And they even tackle a specific error message. The processing please wait one. That sounds super frustrating if you get stuck there.
It does, and they offer a very specific fix. It sounds a bit drastic, actually. For Android, they say uninstall the YouTube Studio app and close the main YouTube app. For iOS, just uninstall Studio.
Uninstall the whole app.
Seems so. Then go back to the YouTube Studio website and complete the invitation from there. The fact they detail this suggests it's a known bug with a known, albeit slightly involved, workaround.
Wow. Okay. Good to know. Any difference for brand accounts?
A slight one, yeah. For brand accounts, the process is apparently a bit more direct within the permissions section itself, usually after re-entering your password. No need to uninstall apps for those, according to the transcript.
Got it. So, okay, the invitation is sent from the channel owner's side. What happens on the receiving end for the new email account?
Much simpler on that side. The recipient just needs to check their Gmail, find the invitation email, and accept it. Then they can navigate to the channel via the link provided.
And once accepted, that new email is officially a manager.
Exactly. And because it's a manager, it will then have the necessary permissions to be linked to a brand new AdSense account when that channel is ready to monetize or needs its AdSense link changed.
Now, managing multiple channels, this part caught my eye too. They talk about using a single email to manage many channels. How does that work without looking suspicious?
Right. They break it down by scale. For a smaller number, say up to maybe 10 channels or so.
Okay.
The recommendation is simply to invite your primary email address as a manager to all those secondary channels. You own the channels with separate emails, but manage them from one central one.
Ah, so the primary email doesn't own them directly.
Correct. It just has manager access. This helps avoid those flags for spam or looking like one person is trying to operate too many channels directly, which YouTube might frown upon.
But what about those big networks, the ones with hundreds of channels? Surely they don't just invite one Gmail account as manager to all of them.
No, for that scale, the transcript introduces Google Workspace, formerly G Suite.
Okay, the business version of Google.
Exactly. You register a Google Workspace account using your own website domain. They give examples like using an email at trantums.net. This lets you manage that huge network of channels via a single professional branded email address tied to your domain.
Adds legitimacy.
Right. It looks more like an organized business operation, which it usually is at that scale.
Okay, makes sense. But how do you handle all these different accounts, different emails, different AdSense logins on just one phone without getting logged out or mixing things up?
Yeah, that could be a nightmare. The transcript suggests using multiple different third-party web browser apps on your phone.
So like have Chrome for one account, Firefox for another, DuckDuckGo for a third.
Exactly that idea. Dedicate one browser app to each AdSense account and its main associated YouTube channel. It creates these sort of digital silos on your device. Each browser keeps its own logins and cookies separate.
Like compartments.
Precisely. And they also mention you can do something similar on a computer using separate browser profiles, which apparently was covered in a previous video on that channel. Same principle, strict separation.
Okay, so we've gone through this really detailed process. Setting up separate emails, phone numbers, locations, browsers, AdSense accounts. It's a lot of work. What are the big payoff benefits they're pitching?
They outline several key advantages. First is flexibility for experimenting.
How so?
You can test out different content niches, different video styles on these separate channels without risking your main established channel if the experiments don't work out, or worse, if they accidentally violate some policy.
Ah, okay. So you can try that risky new idea on a separate channel first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it avoids the red flags that might come from just rapidly creating tons of standard channels from one account, which YouTube might see as spammy. They even hint that channels flagged for policy issues might get lower visibility, stagnant views.
Right. So this method is safer for testing. What's the second big benefit?
Risk mitigation, specifically around AdSense. This is maybe the biggest one. By having separate AdSense accounts linked individually to separate channels or small groups of channels, if one channel gets into serious trouble, like guideline strikes leading to monetization being disabled or worse, and its linked AdSense account gets terminated, it doesn't automatically kill the income for all your other channels.
Right.
The problem is contained to that one AdSense account and the channel linked to it.
Ah, okay. It's like building financial firewalls between your projects. That's huge.
It really is. It provides insulation.
Makes total sense. And the third benefit was RPM variation. What's that about?
Right. RPM, revenue per mil, basically how much you earn per 1,000 views.
Yeah.
This can vary wildly depending on the channel's topic, the audience demographics, the advertisers, etc.
Okay.
So if you have, say, a high-value finance channel and a lower-value gaming channel linked to the same AdSense account, the lower RPM from the gaming channel can actually drag down the overall perceived performance and potentially the average payout across the whole account.
You're saying the lower earner hurts the higher earner?
Potentially, yes, within a single AdSense account context. By having separate AdSense accounts, each channel's RPM stands alone. The high-performing finance channel gets its full value, unaffected by the gaming channel's potentially lower RPM because they aren't bundled together in the same AdSense pot.
Got it. So each channel lives or dies by its own performance metrics, financially speaking.
Exactly. Allows for more accurate tracking and prevents dilution of high-earning niches.
So the big picture here, the overarching message, it seems to be, diversify, build out your YouTube presence, expand your revenue streams, but do it smart. Do it by the rules.
Wow.
It's about crafting a more resilient, robust, long-term strategy, not just chasing quick views on one single channel that could disappear tomorrow.
Precisely. This deep dive into TransUTEM's transcript, it really unveils a pretty sophisticated playbook for YouTube creators thinking bigger, thinking longer term. And it definitely brings up a key question for you listening. Thinking about your own YouTube journey, what new areas, what niches might you want to explore? And how could you maybe start structuring things, even on a small scale, to be a bit more diversified, a bit more resilient, using some of these ideas?
Food for thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's finding that balance, isn't it, between the potential rewards of expansion and the added complexity of managing it all.
Definitely something to mull over. This has been really insightful digging into these more advanced strategies floating around out there. Thanks for breaking it down.